Hello, and welcome to Resilient Relationships. This session is focused on attachment and the expression of needs. This series is provided by the Bow Valley Family Resource Network. My name is Anthea Messier, and I am a relationship counselor and social worker in the Bow Valley. Resilience is the capacity to recover from adversity and pursue your goals despite challenges. It helps you survive the worst day of your life and thrive every day of your life. How we feel and act, both over the course of our lives and in specific situations, is determined by three factors: the challenges we face, the vulnerabilities these challenges trigger, and the mental resources and strengths that we have for meeting the challenges and protecting the vulnerabilities. The more we understand our own vulnerabilities and triggers, the more capable we become of accessing and building up the resources and strengths that will help us to manage adversity. Our neurobiology is focused on these three fundamental needs: safety, both physical and emotional, satisfaction in approaching rewards, and connection, that attachment to other human beings. We demonstrate the necessity of these from the moment we are born. The attachment system that leads to the close emotional bonds between parents and children is also responsible for the bond that develops between adults in intimate relationships. We talk about attachment as being important from the cradle to the grave. Although the specific needs that we have in attachment may change as we become more independent and capable of taking care of ourselves, there are still four basic behaviors that we exhibit in attachment. 1, we monitor and maintain emotional and physical closeness to the person that we love. 2, we reach out to that person when we experience intense emotions. 3, we miss that person when we are apart and we anticipate being together. And 4, we count on that person to be there for us. Attachment styles in childhood were originally studied by John Bowlby. And as he developed this theory, he identified 3 basic attachment styles, and later on, a 4th style was added to this. So to study it, he would take parents and a caregiver into an unfamiliar situation, basically a play area, and the parents would leave the room. There was a safe person in the room with the child and was there to comfort and reassure the child if they allowed that. But the parent would leave. And the observations were made of what that looked like as they separated, but almost more importantly, what it looked like when they came back together. So in children who demonstrated what we call a secure attachment, they showed some distress when the parents left, but when the parent came back, they would reconnect, seek comfort, and try to engage with the parent again. They were easily comforted and then would be interested in showing the parents what they had been doing while the parent was gone. In anxious resistant attachments, these children had greater levels of distress than the other group upon separation. And when they were reunited, they would seek both to be comforted, but also to express anger and rage. In other words, punish the parent for having left. These children were more likely to hit the parents or have a temper tantrum or try and show them that aggression and that anger at having been left behind. The third type, avoidant attachment, these children showed little or no distress upon separation. And then when the parent came back, they would ignore or actively avoid re-engaging with the parent. Even if the parent approached them, asked them questions, tried to hug them, these children were more likely to push the parent away or to pretend that they weren't there. And the fourth type is disorganized or disoriented attachment. And this is when children show no predictable pattern. It could be any type of combination of the other 3. Our attachment styles are developed in response to how our parents or caregivers respond to our needs in early childhood. Babies cry, scream, smile, wiggle, coo, do all kinds of things to try and get parents' attention. If they get a sufficient amount of response and serve and return behaviors, then they are more likely to develop a secure attachment. We carry these remnants of our attachment styles from early childhood into adulthood. Although our adult relationships can result in different types of attachments, regardless of what our early childhood experiences were. In secure attachments as adults in intimate relationships, we see people who are feeling secure and connected even when they're apart. They're honest, supportive, they demonstrate interdependence and deep emotional connections. They really know each other and feel safe in their relationship. In dismissive avoidant or anxious avoidant attachment styles, we might see one or the other person keeping their distance physically and emotionally. They may have strict expectations of what independence would look like, may think that they don't really need anybody and it's just convenient or nice enough to have somebody there with them, but they're reluctant to open up emotionally. And they may shut down when they're triggered or threatened feelings in the relationship. In anxious preoccupied or anxious resistant attachment styles, someone may be feeling fearful or untrusting. They try to trust and then they withdraw that trust. They may feel desperate for love or affection and act in ways that push their partner away, even though what they're really trying to do is pull that person close. They're looking for reassurance that the attachment is secure and that they can trust, but may end up appearing to be jealous, insecure, clingy, demanding, or easily upset by small issues. The fourth style is fearful or avoidant or disorganized attachment. And the person may be feeling ambivalent in the relationship, may have difficulty trusting and try to avoid feelings with any intensity. They may become overwhelmed in smaller situations, and they may be unpredictable or moody, all in an effort to avoid getting hurt. These relationship styles can create a great deal of conflict and distress in a relationship. But if we approach conflict and the need for attachment as being legitimate and lifelong, if we look at people's behaviors and then think, what are you trying to tell me? Lots of times what the person is saying is, I need reassurance, I need to connect, I'm looking for some attention from you. And if we can interpret behaviors as a request for reassurance and attachment, rather than being demanding or clingy or angry, then we are more likely to be empathetic and supportive. In adult relationships, this acronym developed by Susan M. Johnson can help us to think about the basic things that we're asking for and asking to have confirmed or reassured in our relationships. So A is for accessibility. We are asking our partner, can I reach you? Are you paying attention to me? In our world of electronic devices and distractions, of outside pressures, of work stress, of family responsibilities, parenting, and worrying about our futures, it is sometimes difficult to be accessible. But it's important that our partners know that they can get to us if they really do need us. We need to be able to disconnect, put our phones down, turn our computers off, and be accessible and present to the people in our lives. The R stands for responsiveness. Can I rely on you? Will you tune in to my emotions in good situations and bad situations? Will you celebrate my successes with me and comfort me when I'm in distress? If the answer to this is yes, we are less likely to need intense support because we know that if we really need it, that person will be there. The third, the E, is for engagement. Do I matter? How important am I? Is it just that you don't want to be alone, or is it that you want to be with me? Are you attracted to me? Do you value me? Do you want to spend time with me? Again, because we're busy and stressed, this may be one that is hard to confirm. So in relationships, we reach out to the other person in small ways every day throughout the day to check in on these three areas, to answer these questions. And it may seem like this would be a big task to be responsive, but really it's not. It's about being responsive to small things often. So we call these requests for attention, bids for attention, and the expression of needs. We need to connect with our partner, to dream about the future and set goals. We want to be able to play and have fun and laugh with the people in our lives, to share excitement or to seek emotional support and empathy. We need to have shared meaning and goals and a sense of purpose with our partners. We may be asking just for attention, to start a conversation, to have some relief from the stresses in our lives or just that feeling of alone. We want to laugh and have fun and a sense of humor. We need emotional affection and connection, and we may be seeking sex and intimacy. All of these are totally legitimate needs that we reach out to our partners for. Unfortunately, sometimes we don't communicate very clearly about these things. Bids for attention are often not a statement of, I need, or please do this. It might be an attempt to do something. Walking by someone and touching their shoulder might be an expression of, I need attention, or I need affection. Or if someone is sitting and reading the newspaper or an article on their phone and they make that little sound, it might mean that they're trying to see if the other person is interested in having a conversation, and that would be the way to open that up. But we have 3 basic ways of responding to these bids for attention. The first is turning toward. So when we're turning towards somebody's bid, we stop, pay attention, and engage, respond in a way that says, you matter, I'm listening, what's going on? This could be a response as small as making eye contact, smiling, giving a thumbs up, making another responsive sound, a laugh, something like that. This isn't huge, time-consuming engagement. It might be, but quite often it's 10, 15 seconds. But the thing is, over time, when we respond to bids in this way, it builds up that trust and that connection so that the other person knows that you are available. The second response to bids is turning away. This response is basically ignoring the person's attempt to connect. Sometimes we do this intentionally. I'm busy, I'm distracted, I pretend I didn't hear you, didn't see you. I don't have the energy or the resources right now to pay attention or to respond. And sometimes we just miss those things. We're engaged in whatever we're doing, we're stressed, we're distracted, and we don't even realize that the other person has reached out. And the third, and obviously most damaging response to a bid is to turn against, to be negative towards the person, to scowl, to criticize them, to make it clear that we don't want them trying to get our attention and that we're not willing to meet their needs. All 3 of these happen in all relationships, but we want the turning towards to be the one that we see the most often. So if we're mindful, so present and intentional about responding to bids or in how we give bids for attention, then here's some tips for doing that. First of all, ask for what you need. Be clear. If your bid is missed, try again. Change your technique, change your strategy. No mind games, don't be subtle. Say out loud what it is you're asking for. When couples will say, well, the other person should just know, I have to disagree. We don't always just know. Sometimes we don't even just know what we need. So how can we be expected to anticipate what someone else will need? Sometimes we can, but sometimes we won't or we can't. So if you have a need, it's up to you to express that out loud. When the other person responds to your need in a way that's working for you, it's important to express gratitude. Tell them that you feel heard and valued and important. If we know that what we're doing is working for our partner or the people in our lives, we're much more likely to respond to that again in a way that continues to show that support and encouragement. If we're intentional in responding, if I make the decision, okay, I'm going to look for my partner's bids, and I'm going to take that 10 seconds to look up, stop what I'm doing, put my phone down, stop making dinner, whatever it is, and spend that 10, 15 seconds making sure that they know that they matter. I'm going to be more happy, calm, and content in the relationship, and so are they. If we actively think about our relationship attachment patterns and develop some empathy and understanding of our triggers and our partner's triggers, then we're more likely to be supportive and offer reassurance and comfort instead of criticism. So if my partner is saying, I really need to connect with you, and you never talk to me about your feelings, I can simply say, I'm feeling happy and content, or, you know what, I'm really stressed and I don't want to share that with you. I don't want to burden you with it. And that can start a conversation between the two of you, and you can decide how to handle it from there. But if you're critical and resistant, if you're the person who's avoidant or fearful, it's important that you put those thoughts and feelings into words, and then if able, to seek support in identifying and changing those patterns. We can build attachment in our day-to-day lives with some simple activities. One that's really helpful is to check in at least once a day and talk about the events of the day. When we make that mental and emotional space in our head and our lives for the other person, we say to them, you matter. We answer those 3 questions in the A-R-E with a yes. Doing day-to-day activities together, things that have to be done anyway, can also be opportunities to build attachment. Cook a meal together, play games, make calls or video connections with family members and friends together, so you have that shared experience of connecting with other people and with each other. Often when we socialize as couples and families, we're on our good behavior with our friends, and we're more likely to be generous and to see each other in a more positive light. You can go for a walk or a drive together. And this doesn't mean without your kids. It might be. If you can get away and have that break and some time just for the two of you, that's great. But these days, we're all kind of staying close together and close to home. So involve your children in that process. They also need attachment with you. And they need to see a healthy attachment between the two of you. Hug, kiss, touch, cuddle, etc. All of these things are important in a healthy relationship. When we are physically in contact with one another, we actually trigger the hormone called oxytocin, which is referred to as the touch hormone, but it's also an attachment hormone. That hormone is present in pregnant women when we go into labor and helps us to get through that labor and still feel love and connection with the baby at the end of that. It's important for us to also have that in our intimate and couple relationship. That hormone was present early on in your relationship when you couldn't wait to be together and everything the other person did was great. We didn't see the red flags and the things that annoyed us quite as much. When we have sufficient levels of oxytocin in our systems, we're more tolerant of the small annoyances, and we're more easily attached and comforted by our partners. Talking about our individual and shared goals and dreams also helps us to feel attached. If I know that you and I are dreaming of the same future, I'm more likely to feel hope and tolerance in the tougher moments between now and then. And then the last one here is to spend time enjoying and admiring your children. Play together with your children. Smile at each other behind your kids' backs when they do something adorable. Be a support system and encourage your parent-child relationships. Enjoy the attachment that you see between your partner and your child, and make that something that helps to build your attachment to your partner. How we think and act is completely affected by how we spend our days and how we treat one another. Attachment is not something that is a weakness, it is a human need. In fact, it's a biological need of many animals. So the things I've gone over today are based on resources from Drs. John and Julie Gottman of the Gottman Institute. Their research and work is primarily focused on parenting and couple relationships. Dr. Rick Hansen, whose research and writings are primarily focused on developing happiness and resilience. Dr. John Bowlby and Mary Ainsworth, whose research and writings are focused on attachment in childhood. And Dr. Susan M. Johnson, whose work is focused on attachment in families and couples. So I encourage you to look them up, read their books. They have lots of great materials that can help to improve your relationship and your understanding of yourself and the people around you. In the Bow Valley, we have lots of resources that are also here to support your relationship and your family. The Bow Valley Family Resource Network supports families with children 0 to 18. They can give you direct support or referrals to other agencies that can help out. Family and community support services offer support throughout the lifespan in many areas, and it also can give you great referrals to other resources. Right now, during this time of COVID, both the town of Canmore and the town of Banff have call-in centers that are open from 8:30 to 4:30 every day. And always, we have 211 in the Bow Valley, which is a resource link that can give you information about everything from where to seek medical care, mental health care, food resources, housing information, employment issues. So they are able to connect you with the agencies and resources that can offer support in many, many areas. If you're struggling, I encourage you to reach out to one or many of these resources. This is not something that you have to manage on your own. We're here to support you. So I encourage you to pay attention to your attachment style, to bids for attention, and to build resilience and happiness in all of your relationships.